The official call is under review. Let's go to the monitor.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode 1313 of the Under Review podcast. I am your host, Todd, and as you can see on the other side of me is my co-host, Marty.
Hola, ¿cómo están, mi amigos, señoritas?
All right, guys, so going ahead, before we get into everything, I want to talk about some stuff. It is week 5. Put up or shut up week, I'd like to call it. Everything but one SEC matchup and 5 people are on byes this week. But looking like a pretty stacked up lineup this week.
As far as games, I think so. Like I said, we do got 5 teams at South Carolina, Missouri, Tennessee, Vandy, and Georgia. Florida to get a week to rest and get ready for next week. LSU goes to South Alabama, which we'll get more into that. But everybody's looking forward to the Bama-Georgia game. It's, big since the national championship they played in, the ACC championship they played in. So really excited to go through our thoughts on that one.
Yeah, but before we get started here and everything, we're going to take a quick little break, we're going to pay some dues to our sponsor.
This episode of the Under Review podcast is brought to you by Chuck's Heating and Air. Chuck has over 40 years of service and experience with residential services. He services most makes and models. He is Alabama licensed, bonded, and insured, and locally owned and operated. Are you hot and you're supposed to be cool? Are you cool and you're supposed to be hot? Then you've got a problem. Call Chuck. Area code 256-892-2757. Again, 256-892-2757. Chuck's Heating and Air.
And as always, thank you to Jud Dickinson for that great and amazing soundbite. And also thank you to our sponsor, Chuck's Heating and Air, keeping us going as we get on with these weeks. But before we get started here, it is episode 13, so we are announcing the winner of our giveaway. The stuff is actually just got ordered, so it might take her a week or so. We were in contact trying to find out the right scheme and how we was going to go about it, what color we wanted, what kind of hat we wanted, what color hat, all this other stuff. All that stuff has been finalized as of this morning, and she is starting to work on it as we speak now. So hopefully, maybe by the next time you'll see us on a preview, we might have something.
So who is doing our stuff?
We are talking about Mandy McFall out of Ohatchee.
Okay.
She's done some she's really good at what she does. I've seen some of her work. I've actually owned some of her work from some of her previous clients. So it's good merch. I like it. But we're going to be giving it out to our winner, who is Batman. It is Roll Tide Billy.
Looky there. Persistence pays off.
Yeah, so Billy has been one of the biggest ones, and he did win the hat pick. So, Billy, congratulations. Like I said, once we get it, we'll give it to you as well. So there's that. And as well, I think we'll have 2 or 3 shirts. I don't know about hats, but maybe like 2 or 3 shirts that we will be able to sell afterwards. I did order just a couple more extra, so we can have that.
Gotta make money somehow.
Right, somewhere, somehow. But after all the businesses aside of us now, let's get into the actual shindig of them all. Starting out, Mississippi State travels down to Austin, Texas to face the number 1 Longhorns, 3:15 on the SEC network.
Well, with this one here, this is the David and Goliath of the SEC. The number one team in the country versus pretty much the bottom of the barrel of the SEC. 98% for the Texas Longhorns to go out and throttle the Bulldogs. I don't see, especially now that Shapin's done for the year. Do you know who their backup is? Do you?
Well, if you hang on with me, I'll show you.
But like I said, and this is not going to be like the regular David and Goliath. This is going to be Goliath stomping on people. I really don't see them having a really good chance. So Michael Van Buren Jr. is their backup.
True freshman, 6'1", 200 pounds, out of Maryland. 100 yards on the season.
So it's going to be trial by fire by him, I see.
Yeah, as it looks like.
Especially Texas's defense is really good. They're really going to put him through there. So I don't see things getting much better for Mississippi State the rest of the year, and I think it's going to start with a throttling by the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, especially after the setback with Blake Shapin and all, and then getting pulled around by Florida. If Florida can do that to you, there's a problem.
Yeah,
in my opinion. And now you're playing the number 1 team in the nation, so now it's just going to get worse from that. Those 25, 28 points you scored last week, forget about it. You ain't scoring that.
Forget about it.
Those 48 points that Florida scored on you, it might be more. So give me Texas. Obviously, Texas is the obvious choice. Don't see it going any other way. I really don't. No,
as much as we talked earlier in the week about the pick 'em we got going on, how it's going to be really hard, but this is a no-brainer. This is going to be Bevo stomping that poor little Bulldog.
Yeah, well, he's already done it once to one.
Yeah, he got a hold of Uga a couple years back.
Yep. Our next matchup, South Alabama travels down to the Valley of Death as the 14 LSU Tigers, 6:45 on the SEC network.
Like I said, LSU being number 14, they should be a pretty premier team, but we both know that South Alabama can really put up points. And I think that's why the margin is still, at 78% for LSU. And if LSU struggles like they have a little bit before, I don't say South Alabama beating them, but I say give them a really good scare and being able to put up, 30, 45 points or so.
Yeah, and like we've said before, it's always hard to play in Death Valley, and then especially play at a night game. So it puts the Jaguars of South Alabama at a real big disadvantage right here in this game as well. So moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on in this game. As Gio Lopez only has 843 yards for the season, 9 touchdowns, but no interceptions. And then Fluff Bothwell, the freshman, 37 carries, 359 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So I don't think South Alabama is going to go down without a fight if they do go down.
Yeah, so I think the South Alabama coaches are really looking to get their team fired up as far as, hey, you can beat these guys. I mean, yes, the first couple of games, the screen messed up. But the first couple of games, they just put up monster amounts of points. And who says they can't do it here to a certain extent? If LSU struggles. But again, I'm going to take Kelly to get his 4th win of the season here. I can see it going the other way. I don't want to put the upset tag on it, but it could happen.
I mean, it could definitely, as going into a 7-point underdog last week and then beating Appalachian State by 34 points. It's very possible. Granted, Appalachian State, LSU, 2 different programs, 2 different monuments of, Appalachian State is having a down year, but it was at App State in Boone, North Carolina. So it kind of raises some questions for me. I mean, why not?
I mean,
give me the Jaguars.
I figured you would, but that's like I said, and I know that's who Brandon's going to pick if he was here sitting with us as well.
Right.
But like I said, if it happens, I'm not going to be so shocked. I mean, I do like the underdog, but I don't like picking per se against the SEC.
I mean, I'll pick against anybody if I think it's going to be a big game.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm wrong more times than I am right. So
yeah, we seen your last week. Yeah, we seen your last week. So
what is one more time of being wrong?
Right, but like we talked, how hard is our pick'em this week? Jeez.
Yeah. Getting into the 5 games of the week, Kentucky Wildcats traveling down to Von Hemingway Stadium as the 6th ranked Ole Miss Rebels, 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC.
So we're going to wake up bright and early to see Jackson Dart do his thing again. I don't see Kentucky putting up too much of a fight. I mean, at 2-2 and 0-2 in the conference, Jackson Dart and that offense that he's led has just been so good all year. Now, this may be a little bit tougher for them as to the previous some of the teams that they've played. Well, I take that back. Georgia Southern, Wake Forest, Mississippi, yeah, probably not. So I said Ole Miss again.
It's going to be the best team they played so far.
Yeah.
It's going to be the best team that they played. Ole Miss is a 90.5 favorite over 9.9 of the Kentucky Wildcats. So, seeing what Kentucky has done against Georgia, what they didn't do against South Carolina, though, and then what they did last week against Ohio.
Yeah, scroll that right there. That's what I want to look at. That's the stats there. Vandegrift's still a decent quarterback. I mean, Jackson Dart's already at 1,500 yards in 5 games, or was it 4 games? That's outstanding. 4 games, 12 touchdowns, and only 2 picks on the season. As Vandegrift is at 550, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. I just see Ole Miss's defense just stepping up and really grabbing the Wildcats by the throat here.
Definitely. I mean, to me, I don't think there's any question. Give me the Rebels.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lane Train, Dog Sharks, whatever they are this week.
What'd you call them last week? The Land Rebels?
The Land Rebels, that's it.
The 3-1 Arkansas Razorbacks travel down to Kyle Field and face off against the 24 nationally ranked Texas A&M Aggies, who are 3-1. 2:30 ESPN.
Well, this will be a good game right after the Ole Miss game. I think they're a fairly evenly matched team. I know Texas A&M is a ranked team, but we've talked about it before with other teams in the SEC that I don't think they actually live up to where they're at. Le'Veon Moss is not Arkansas. Marcel Reed is getting better.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that one.
And I think that could be a very positive going into this game because we've seen how Arkansas defense has struggled, especially against Auburn last week. Now, granted, if you struggle against how we couldn't get, or Auburn could not get their defense together in a lot of places, but I think with Marcel Reed getting there, I think this is a good learning game for him. And if it does get out of hand, I think it might be in the Razorback style with Taylor Green and
Jackson.
Yeah, Jaquindon, because, Auburn pretty much put a hat on him last year. Like I said, his 2 touchdowns were fairly close. But then on the other side of that cuff, Taylor Green just did whatever he wanted to as far as being on the ground.
Yeah, like I said, they had a game plan going in for Jackson. We saw it.
They did.
But controlling the quarterback when both of them can run, I guess it don't click in their brains. But Taylor Green had 80 yards rushing last week. The stats say 56-44 in favor of the Aggies. Give me Marcel Reed in this one.
Yeah, I think I'll stick there. I think now, unless, again, like the other one, if it gets out of hand with Green and Jackson, if they do not have an answer for that, then it's going to be pig suey all day. Like I said, I'm going out on a limb because I don't remember if it was in our pick'em, but it
should be.
I think Reed's doing a lot of good things, but I think Taylor Green and Jaquavion Jackson's going to be too much. Give me the Razorbacks.
Okay. Oh, here a little upset alert going on.
A little under review. Now we'll just have to remember that next week when we talk about it.
Right. 21 ranked Oklahoma on their first road game, traveling down to Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. 2:30 ABC.
Excuse me. I was having a Greppico burp there. Oh man, I've been so disappointed because Auburn has let me down twice this season already with games that they should have won.
Right.
As in the Cal game, and then of course last week against Arkansas. I don't know. I'm still figuring out where Freeze is at, where he's going to be at the quarterback play. I read something earlier that the quarterback controversy or whatever they got going on in practice has been really good for both of them. But then again, he said that last week before their game, and I thought he was going to start Sean Jackson at quarterback.
Yeah.
Which
I've heard some things, people saying they want to see him just because he's been a quarterback at a P5 school. So, I mean, he won some games for him last year. I mean, he's won more than Thorne has. So, I mean, why not try him? It would be an interesting fact.
Well, you were just on one other little podcast I watched. They were talking, give him a shot. I mean, they still got Garner that they hadn't done anything with. But news on this, Jackson Arnold is not starting, is he?
Jackson Arnold is not starting. The true freshman Hawkins Jr. is.
That's because I thought we talked about that earlier this week, and I think that could help Auburn's defense as far as if we can get him in, get him rattled quick. The secondary play is going to have to pick up. We've talked about that for week in, week out, that it's going to have to pick up and be better. Since we're out, what's the kid that broke his leg?
Champ Anthony.
Since Champ Anthony, his leg injury got him out. But if we can make that freshman struggle, I think it gives Auburn a better chance.
And it's on the road too, so he hasn't played in an environment like this on the road. First of all, and Oklahoma hasn't played inside of an SEC stadium this year, so could lean towards Auburn.
See, this is what we talked. This is what you and I talked about, was just getting, because you got to think Jackson Arnold was their leading passer and their leading rusher. That's going to right. So that's going to take that out. If you can, real quick, pull up Oklahoma's rushing stats. So who their next guy is behind them, because I don't know. Auburn struggled so much, and it's tough to watch.
It should be Nevin Sawchuk, if I'm... No, it's not. It's Javante Barnes.
What's his stat numbers?
39 carries, 138 yards, so the same amount of yards, just less carries than Arnold, and one touchdown. Arnold.
I know what I mean, Oklahoma's banged up here, but then everybody, like you'll see on the graphics for Facebook once we get them posted, it is a freeze warning, but I think it's where Auburn can fall. I mean, I think they put that. I really just, I'm so torn in this because Auburn should be way better than what they've shown.
Right. So who you got?
I don't know much about that other quarterback, and I think if he struggles, they're going to bring Arnold in, which we know Arnold can do it.
Right.
But his so many struggles last week and the week before with the INTs and the not quick decision making, it's probably going to bite me in the tail. It's not an upset, but I think Auburn.
Yeah, I'm going to go Auburn as well. Non-biased or anything. I just don't think that Oklahoma can or has the ability to come into Auburn inside of this hostile SEC environment with a freshman quarterback and do what they tried to do last week against Tennessee. I just don't think so.
No, like I said, that they played. They had a lot of good defensive stops against Tennessee early on in the game, and whether that translated against Auburn, which our offense is shoddy. It really is, because we don't know. Jacquez looked good last week.
That he did.
And all besides the one fumble that
Amante
Amari Austin had going into the end zone, the running game didn't look bad. And then Lambert Smith, he was a stellar game. So hopefully we'll get to see that side of Auburn and really start because with Auburn's schedule, it doesn't get any easier, and it's not going to get any easier for them the rest of the way out till like week 10 or 11 when I think we got Louis Monroe or
General Booty.
Yeah. So don't let me down, Auburn, but I'm going to take you here. Whether if it's a close game, we can discuss that on the Cap show, but I hope so not. Don't let me down again.
Well, I'm taking Auburn. Another top 25 matchup as our interstate game of the week gives us number 15 ranked Louisville versus 16th ranked Notre Dame, 2:30 on the Peacock.
Peacock's got football too?
Peacock's got football. They got mostly NBC, which Notre Dame plays on NBC.
Notre Dame,
they got Notre Dame. They do a couple football games here and there, NFL games, but yeah, they do a lot of the Big Ten stuff too.
Well, I know they did. I know they do wrestling and stuff like that. But I just always remember as a kid why Notre Dame was always on, like during Thanksgiving and all that. Why they come on NBC. We're trying to watch good football, and Notre Dame's playing.
Yeah.
But no, for this game, I think it's going to be a real tug of war game here. I think these fairly teams are evenly matched. I don't, besides Leonard, as his numbers are really good. I say really good. They look subpar. The two INTs.
I was about to say he's a good quarterback. Played at Duke last year, like I've said before, because we've covered a game between Notre Dame and Texas A&M. He played at Duke. He's a decent quarterback who really throws a lot of touchdowns, but as you can tell, 587 for 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He didn't throw that first touchdown until last week. So week 3 of the season is when he threw his first touchdown as a Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, so, and what their only loss being to NIU in that week 3 matchup that shocked the college football world. They're still putting up points, but then we'll have to go take a look at the running backs, because if that was his first touchdown, then that means the backfield
should be good.
Yeah. I don't remember who I picked here for the picking, but 3-0, and let's see, Appalachian State, Jacksonville State, and Georgia Tech for Louisville.
That's Austin P.
Oh, is it Austin P? Oh, I said Appalachian. Yeah, they're the big gold A.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Notre Dame here. I think Leonard can hopefully come out of it. And then we know their backfield's established to have as many points as they do. Right. What's the stat line? Slide it over. Okay, there it is.
67.6 to 32.4. Notre Dame.
Yeah, and like I said, tug of war game. A 15 versus a 16, there shouldn't be that much separation in them. But I think in this game, Notre Dame can come around and get that and be the winners of this one.
Give me Louisville.
We're just on each other's sides of the coin today, ain't we?
Yeah, I want to see Louisville do something with this. They got a pretty good schedule coming up to make a run, especially at the ACC title. Give me Louisville, and as they pursue for an ACC title this year. And now it's time for the Unreviewed Podcast Game of the Week, as number 2 Georgia travels down to Bryant-Denny Stadium and face the number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide, 2:30 ESPN.
This is the biggest game since I remember, like the Alabama Notre Dame game a handful of years ago, or even the Georgia Alabama game. This is going to be a heavyweight fight. This should be 6:30. This is going to be the late game. I'm excited for this game.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. I meant 6:30. I don't know why my dumb tail wrote 2:30.
Yeah, and they're at Tuscaloosa. It's a night game.
Which that's why it brings Alabama to a 66% chance of winning this game.
Well, I did. I think you was already at work last night when I sent you the screenshot. I played out the game of the week on the PS5 for college 25. I put Heisman on 15-minute quarters, and Brittany thought I was crazy for watching the game. She says, it's only a game, it's not real life. But the last 3 drives of the ball game, they drove it back and forth, back and forth. Alabama come out on top, I think, is what it was, because Georgia had only like 16 seconds left on that last drive.
Right.
But I think Georgia struggles are going to show again this week. It's crazy for me to say that I like Alabama here. Technically 2-4. Alabama's technically the underdog. But Milroe, Jam Miller, Harris, Kendrick Law, Ryan Williams, I just think that is
Kobe Prentice.
Yeah, I just think they're so, Caden Protter's back for his second week, and Alabama looked really different last week with him being back in the starting lineup.
Yeah. So you're going to go with Alabama?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Crimson ones.
Give me the Bulldogs.
You just have to be difficult, don't you?
Give me the Georgia Bulldogs. I've said it before, and I've said it again. I don't like Georgia. I think they're overhyped. But I don't see why Alabama's given such a lenient run on this. Carson Beck's having a subpar season. No interceptions going in. Jalen Milroe don't have any interceptions thrown either. Running backs, Jam Miller in Alabama is better. But on the wide receiver side, Dominic Lovett, Will Shepard, the thin UGA wide receiver room, which, we're so used to Brock Bowers, Lad Bukaki,
I don't think you said that right, but still.
That's what we call it. Lad McConkey, sorry.
Yeah.
This just what me and Maddie
Hunter's
call
going to
him.
get a chuckle out of that.
But I feel more the right pick for me is to go with Georgia in this situation. So give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I get more into my different when I sit down with Hunter and we go over the games. He's our guest picker this week.
Right, we're about to get into that.
Right, I just think Alabama's got a few more weapons. I think coaching staff-wise, Georgia definitely has the advantage. But player-wise, I think Alabama has the advantage. And I just think they want it more. I just think Alabama's on fire right now, especially after the UFC game where they looks like Alabama hasn't looked in years, and that really showed last week.
Right. Well, as we have ours. Oh, I don't know what that is. Hold on. As we always have our picks, we always have somebody else.
Yeah. So, like this week, I got to sit down with our guest picker, Hunter Brasfield, and kind of this is our take on the game.
Here it is.
All right, Todd. Well, I got a super special guest this week for our guest picker. We're going to talk a little bit of game of the week for this week, all the way live from the Dadpod, Uncle Hunter.
What's going on, man?
So, Uncle Hunter, I think this is going to be the biggest game of the year so far. Number 2 Georgia, number 4 Alabama going into this matchup. I think still both teams have a lot to answer. What's your take on it?
I'm uneasy about it. Obviously, you know me. I'm a huge Alabama fan. Alabama showed cracks real early in the season. Western Kentucky obviously wasn't an issue, but nobody thought it would be. But South Florida gave us fits again for the second year in a row.
This is true.
And a lot worse fits this time around than last year. We do have young guys. We're under a new coach. I will give them that. There's some growing pains. But my biggest hang-up going into that game is Alabama on the bye week. Georgia, having played Kentucky and played them close and then took away the number 1 spot, is going to come out mad. Georgia's going to come back out hungry. They've had Kirby Smart. They know what to do. They know what to adjust to. I'm just afraid that the bye week is going to break Alabama's momentum. That's what I'm worried about.
In this game, I think momentum is going to be that can be the biggest part because we've seen the terrible struggles that they had against Kentucky. But then again, Alabama played super strong. I think they will have a little bit of momentum coming in, as I thought their offense looked the best it has looked the post-Saban era.
Right. And
granted, it's 2 games, but
and I agree. I mean, Alabama's got definitely got potential. I mean, we got 2 young receivers. Bernard's getting to show what he can do.
Yes, I really thought he stepped up last week with the 2 touchdowns that he had.
And obviously, with the struggles we had against South Florida, things started going better in the fourth quarter once we took out Fromby.
Right.
Number 75. Once we took him out, gave a look when we were playing the background, Alabama came alive.
Well, what's the guy that come back? Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor is back. He come back last week, and I think that did help the offensive line for that leadership to be there. And, Fromby could be a really good player, but
He's still got time. He's got to learn.
Freshman?
I think so. He's third string. I did not realize that.
Yeah, because the other guy.
Because Proctor was out, second string was banged up, and that's the man they put in later in the game. And when everything kind of shored up late in the fourth quarter. But Proctor's back. He should be healthy, especially this week to set. But I don't know, man. Alabama hadn't really had to face adversity yet this year under DeBoer. Couple pushover teams should have been pushover teams. South Florida obviously being the issue. But now you've got SEC opening play for Alabama against Georgia. Arguably probably the best team in the nation outside of Texas.
Right. I think maybe within a game or two, Tennessee could have that spot. But I think Tennessee's going to be a little more tested this week as well when they go to Oklahoma and play. So, once that week gets over and we can see that. But like I said, I know Todd, he's a little bit uneasy about it. Well, we have talked how each team have had that struggle game, and maybe they've got it out of their system.
I hope so.
Which is really going to make for, I just think, again, another national championship caliber ball game as the same one we had a couple years ago when they played in the SEC championship.
And see, that's what I'm saying, too, is Jalen Milroe was on the team, obviously, so was Justice and Jam. We faced Georgia last year. We showed out, as Alabama should have. But that was under different leadership, and that's one thing that worries me going to that game. So, I don't know. I'm hoping Alabama can shore it up a little bit, but, only time will tell come next week.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think that's the later game, hopefully. So I think
it is. I think it's 6:30.
So we can hopefully get all the other football out so we can sit down and relax. And I know Brittany's going to be ready to get tied down and holler and scream and cuss and all that good stuff as well.
Absolutely. I will too.
Yeah, I know that's definitely not a live game that we want on either of our podcasts.
No.
As far wise, but I'm super excited. I guess I'll make my pick with Todd as well, but I just think at the end of the day, Alabama is going to do the things that they need to do. Maybe it's early in the game or at the end of the game, but I think Alabama's going to pull it out.
Well, playing at Tuscaloosa is going to be
most definitely in their favor, yes.
If we were playing Sanford, big issue. But what I'm afraid of is Alabama has had this struggle all year of being a little slow in the first half. We cannot afford that against Georgia.
No, because
Georgia goes out there, gets up 2 touchdowns. We're fighting from behind. It's going to be hard to stop Georgia from scoring, whether it be a field goal or whatever. Positive points keeps them ahead.
Right.
That's a problem.
And we have seen that Georgia offense explode. I mean, missing the receivers and stuff that went to the draft and all like that. But I still think they got the talent to go up fast.
Right.
And like you mentioned, if they do that, I think Alabama's going to be in trouble.
I agree.
But I thought the biggest thing last week with how much Beck struggled against a not so great.
He looks a little banged up too.
He does, and I think he was having a few issues. But as much as he had to run and overdo himself, I really thought that's the worst we've ever seen him play.
If the Bama defense that showed up against Wisconsin shows up, we can stand toe to toe.
Yeah. Now I don't know about, but I think they're back to full because Jefferson's back now. I know that one linebacker got hurt early in the Wisconsin game, but the guy that they put in for him played just as stellar. So Jefferson, even though he was off his suspension from the third and fourth quarter, he didn't get as much playing time because I couldn't remember the name of the other guy that stepped in. But that's always been Alabama football. Has been next man up.
Next man up's always a 4 or 5 star.
Right. So at the fourth quarter, when the clock hits all zeros and the crying and cussing done, who do you got on top?
I'm calling Bama by 9.
By 9?
I'm hoping. I'm worried about it. I know it sounds like I'm doubting Alabama. I guess in all circumstances I am.
But with good reason.
But I do have a lot of hope that Alabama's going to step up and show up and play ball just to prove the point under DeBoer, under all things we knew we had. Bernard, Williams, wide out. We've got a veteran backfield.
Most definitely.
I feel like that's going to play into it. If Bama's defense shows up, I can see Alabama feasibly winning by 9 points.
Yeah, I like that pick. And again, I'm going to go, non-biased, but I think Alabama, again, does what it takes in the fourth quarter to get that win over Georgia. Because if, again, they have the momentum. If Georgia continues that struggle, but if Georgia comes out hot, it's going to be a heck of a ball game for 4 quarters.
I agree.
So after this, either team, win or lose, how does it affect their playoff chances? Because arguably these are two of the best teams in the SEC.
All right, so at the beginning of the year, me and my dad talked a lot about Alabama football, and we do throughout the week. I predict Dad being the
Dad he is.
The true-blooded crimson and white bleeding man that he is. Alabama's undefeated to the national championship.
World War III winners.
Right. I don't see it. At the start of the year, before week 1 kicked off, I told them Alabama 2 losses at minimum to 1 of 3 teams.
Right. I remember that conversation.
To 1 of 3 teams: Georgia, Tennessee, or LSU. LSU, I don't really feel threatened by anymore.
No.
After
As much as they have
had,
exposed that they've been this year. But I think in a lot of teams, too, that have struggled, once SEC play starts, all that goes out the window because it's pretty much brother
right.
and stuff like that. But that's to be determined.
But right now, the 2 I'm worried about is Georgia and Tennessee. If we can get past Georgia and Tennessee, I'm not so much worried about. Yes, they did hang points this past weekend, but Kent State.
Right. Again, it's a.
I would be more concerned if you didn't go out there and put 60 on.
Right, and that was my thing, that the game was so close with the LSU South Carolina, right. The Kentucky Georgia game is. And even in the Vandy game, I know Vandy is.
And as far as SEC fans go, this might be controversial. I don't know, but I don't trust in Beamer ball.
No, not as.
I think Beamer ball's starting to fizzle.
I don't know. It's the defense is there. The defense
is there, but the offense has been the struggle for the last 2 years. Even whenever they had Spencer Rattler last year, supposed to be one of the next up and coming quarterbacks, still did not develop.
Right. Yeah, that they've had the struggles, but
Hey, can I call you back in a second?
The struggles that they've had, I don't think it's flaky, but they're coming up. I think they'll be better. I don't know if Beamer's the right guy for them. I ain't never had a problem with Beamer.
No,
I like
don't
his
either.
dad and stuff like that. But again, the biggest thing now that we've started is once we get into SEC play, all that silly stuff goes out the window.
And that's where everybody's going to cut their teeth and show what they got.
Right. And that's pretty much what Todd said last week when the way I put it is it's put up or shut up. It's
just like today we were talking about Alabama-Auburn football. One of my partners on first shift, he's an Auburn fan.
Smart man.
And this is, y'all lost a cow. Don't start with me.
I'll get my knife out.
But anyhow, regardless, this should be last cupcake weekend.
Right.
And then everybody gets into their conference plays and starts showing what they're truly made of. I think Alabama down the stretch will wake up and be a problem for everybody.
I think so as well.
I think right there before the Iron Bowl, when we traveled to Norman, Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner's in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a tune game, just seeing how far maybe Oklahoma season can get right now. But really, I think if Auburn continues to play well, not just because I'm an Auburn fan, but they continue and they find their groove with Thorne and Jacquez and these young receivers, I think the Iron Bowl is probably going to be.
I think as the season gets on into the depths of it a little bit, that Alabama will start looking better. You talking about young receivers, Ryan Williams, 17-year-old kid.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong, he's good. But last week I heard him say it at one point in time, the next incarnation of Devontae Smith.
And see, I had also seen another thing with him. He went and did some Devontae Smith training. He contacted Devontae and was like, hey, what did you do in the offseason? What were your goals and stuff like that? So,
right. And I'm not saying he can't be. But right now,
as long as he ain't Henry Ruggs.
Right. Henry, he's going to get me screwed up. Ryan Williams has not been able to open up and show that he can beat somebody in the long run.
A high-caliber team.
Yeah, he has obviously made some people miss. He's eluded some stuff, but he's never had to make the 50-yard run.
Yeah,
he hadn't had to show his wheels what he absolutely can and can't do.
It's honestly, when he was in high school watching a college player playing against high school kids and vice versa now, he's getting it. I think he's going to be a good talent, and hopefully he can stay humble and keep that mindset and don't get all up in the videos.
And that's one thing I kind of worry about going into the Georgia game is he's young right now. He's super high on himself, and I'm afraid Georgia might humble him a little bit. That's one thing. That's one of the uncertainties to me.
But luckily now with the new playoff formats and all that kind of stuff, I think it's good. If you lose early, you still have the chance. Maybe not the ACC championship, but you do have the playoff games and the national championship with a very good Alabama team, Georgia team. You can do that with the win here at the beginning.
I think Alabama, even with 2 losses, could still feasibly be in 10, 11, or 12 seed.
I most definitely not even higher.
I don't want to see it because I don't want to see us have to play from first round all the way down to semifinal to get there because that the new playoff format is going to be strenuous.
Right, very, very, very much so. Because I've said it since we started this podcast. Is SEC teams cannibalize themselves all year till we get.
That's what everybody's been talking about, especially people outside of our circle that's not SEC fans.
Right.
Oklahoma and Texas about to show them boys. Texas, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Sarkisian that's coaching the SEC. He knows what it's about. He knows how to manipulate his team to what he's going to face week to week. Now, Oklahoma, they've been strong in the past here or there, but they're about to find out what getting beat up week in, week out
This is not
like.
Big 12 country anymore as far as things like that.
Down here with football is a lifeblood.
Right, exactly. So just before our episode aired today, the news broke down in Texas that Ewers is out, Manning is in. What's your quick take on that?
Reading into it like I did, it makes it dangerous because Quinn Ewers is going to be back. They're saying abdominal strain, he's week to week. Obviously, rehab is going to be a great thing for him to get him back together. It's going to get Arch Manning playing time. So what I'm afraid of, about 3 or 4 more weeks, once Quinn Ewers back to 100%, you have Arch Manning in the backfield. Yeah, Quinn's a little winded, throw Arch in there, but know we can do it with him. I think now you have 2 stellar quarterbacks you can cycle in and out. One gets tired, well, you put him up, defense is on their heels, well, he's fresh, here we go, we're going to score again.
I think Arch is going to be, Todd didn't think so highly of him at the beginning. I knew he was there, he could do that. But then I think when you have 2 really good quarterbacks, it's going to be so hard to differ. It is as good next man up that you have really a 5-star quarterback behind your Heisman quarterback candidate in Ewers. So
that could, and a quarterback that could very potentially next year be the Heisman front.
Yes. Now, like if he does good and stays there, but Ewers status. I don't remember if Ewers is a senior or whatnot. What gives him?
This is his last year.
Okay, well then that's good for Arch.
They had speculated last year whether or not he was going to go ahead and declare for the draft. He said, "I'm coming back one more year," and I imagine Arch Manning kind of sat back for a minute. And was like, "Dang." And that probably played some idea into transferring or whatever, but he stayed, so it makes Texas dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous for next year. All right, we're right at 15 minutes, guys. So with our special guest picker for the Auburn, that other team.
The one that matters.
Yeah, Georgia. So just to recap, Hunter at the Dadpod, he's got Alabama by 9. I'm going to take Alabama as well. Maybe not that close of a margin, just depending on where they go. So, Todd, we'll close this episode out unless you have anything else.
No, man, I'm good.
All right, my guy.
I appreciate y'all having me.
Yes, sir.
And again, special thanks to Hunter Brasfield. As a pretty good interview by the Under Review podcast statistician over there, the interviewer.
Yeah.
But, if anybody knows about the Dadpod or anything, once you get Hunter going, it's kind of hard to stop. It's kind of like talking to Chuck.
Yeah, well, you heard Chuck in the background get a chuckle. Thanks for killing me for all the background noise.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we get. We're under review. We're not perfect, so we're always under review with everything else that we do. So,
under review with a slight Dadpod kind of feel.
Yeah. But, I think y'all had some good takes. Apparently he likes Bama by 9. That's his choice.
Like I said,
he's going to sleep with it at night, not me. So,
and the thing is as a huge Auburn fan, I'm going to have to sleep with it too. But I think it's going to be the best ball game we've had, and hopefully it is a good ball game. But then if it's a blowout, that's really going to put in favor of where each of these teams in the top 5 are going to stand for the rest of the year, I believe.
It's a blowout. We're really going to have something to talk about next week.
Yeah, because we'll both – yeah.
It don't matter if Georgia blows out Alabama or if Alabama blows out Georgia. There's going to be something to talk about.
Yeah, well, like I said, just real quick, I know we're cutting it close, but what our 5 teams on the bye this week, who do you think benefits the most from the bye week this week?
Vanderbilt.
Or what can they work on?
Vanderbilt. I say Vanderbilt because Tennessee, you're good. South Carolina, you can have some fixings, Hey, you got a week of rest your players up. We've talked about the injuries last week. Rest them players up. Missouri, you need to find yourself first of all.
Yep, still looking for their identity, right? Yeah, still looking for their identity.
Florida, be looking for a coach. That's all I'm saying, because next week we're going to get into it, and I'm already going to get fired up about next week. But Vanderbilt, I say, is the number 1 team to look at, because your bowl game future is in your hands right here. With what your schedule has lined up, it's all you. Put the pieces together, get you 5 wins, make it close to get later in that schedule to where you can get that 6th win and make a bowl this year. So give me Vandy right there.
That's a pretty good take on the off week, because, like you said, each team has their own identity here. But again, I think Vandy has the most to look forward in this off week is, getting their players ready for that week, getting Pavia's mindset ready. Hey, it's time to crunch down and, like you said, get bowl ready. I know that sounds crazy for a team to say to get bowl ready here in week 5, but for them, there's
they should be undefeated.
Most definitely.
As crazy it is, Vanderbilt should be 4-0, and they only needed 2 more wins.
Oh, wow. Is that just from where we started at week 1 recording? I would never thought that Vandy could look at being 4-0.
Right. But as we're gonna get out of here, as always, thank you to our sponsor, Chuck's Heating and Air. Thank you to our buds at the Dadpod, Hunter and Nick as well. Thank you, Hunter, for being our special guest picker. I said referee, but this ain't WWE.
He'll do both.
He will, yeah. Thank you, as always, to HCS Media and the Hayden Coker Show. Thank you to Jud Dickinson for the amazing sound bites. And as well, thank you, Brandon Trammell. Me and you have been talking. He's got something special for us coming soon. I'm not going to release anything out. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to wait till it all comes out. It's going to be something pretty cool. But as always, we want to thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the support. God loves you. We love you over here at the Dadpod. And thanks for listening. And as always, remember...
Hold on. This is under review, not Dadpod.
Oh, well, sorry. I stole it from Nick. Well,
right. Yeah, once you listen to them enough, you get... Because I love listening to them at the beginning of their show. Hunter just comes in, just hair on fire. Yeah, I love that.
But, again, thank you for listening. And as always, remember, we will see you next time at the monitor when we go under review.
Thanks for making the call to go under review. Join us next time as we go to the monitors. Until then, keep your flag handy.
That was the wrong button.